Hello friends, my name is Vas Solo. Welcome to my channel, Why Spirit Matters. This series of videos is about how I became a drug addict and alcoholic. So far I've told you about my childhood and my teenage years. In this video, I'm going to tell you about my life from age 19 to 25, which is when my battle with alcoholism began. I was 19 when I dropped out of high school. I was 4 credits away from graduating, but I didn't want to be there one more day, much less an entire semester. So when I signed the release papers and walked out, it felt like a giant burden was lifted off my shoulders. I felt like a convict who was just released from prison. Here I was, finally free and in control of my own destiny. Sort of. I'd achieved only partial emancipation because I was still living at home. That's why when 3 of my good friends suggested we all move in together, I didn't hesitate to say yes. That year marked a lot of firsts for me. First time living on my own, losing my virginity, trying cocaine for the first time, and for the first time noticing that I drank differently than my friends. Now I'll expand on that later, but first I'd like to address a major flaw in my thinking at the time. I thought that by changing my external situation, i.e. dropping out of school and moving out, that I was freeing myself. But that was an illusion. All I did was unhitch myself from one load and hitch myself to another. I swapped going to school for a mind-numbing 9-to-5 job that paid just above minimum wage, and living in comfort but under my mom's rules for living amidst chaos and filth with 3 20-year-old dudes. After the novelty of living on my own wore off, I realized I was still unhappy. How could I be happy when nothing internally had changed? In my last video, I talked about being overweight in high school and feeling insecure. Well, when I was 19, I started working out and lost the weight, but inside I still felt like an insecure fat kid. And in my 20s, my existential angst got worse. I kept looking for some sort of meaning to life because I found day-to-day life very unsatisfying. I kept asking myself, isn't there something more to life than this? And why don't I care about the things other people care about? Is there something wrong with me? Thinking this way made me feel like an outsider looking in. Then my judgmental side would kick in to protect me and say, it's not you, it's this world. Everyone in it is so dumb. Why else would they be satisfied with living such an empty and dull existence? Everyone just follows the herd, does as they're told, and takes advantage of each other just to get ahead. And they don't even know why they're doing it. I didn't realize that my own negative thinking was making me miserable. I thought it was the world. In other words, I didn't know that my perception of reality was a reflection of my negative state of mind. It's no wonder that I love to alter that state of mind with drugs and alcohol. At the time, I didn't see the connection between my drinking and how I felt. I did notice, however, that my friends, who drank too, were able to moderate and I couldn't. I noticed that once I started, I couldn't stop. I tried to limit myself to 1 glass of wine and always ended up finishing the bottle. Or we'd get home wasted after spending the night at the bar, and if there was leftover alcohol at home, I'd continue drinking until I passed out. At that time, it didn't occur to me that I might be an alcoholic. My drinking hadn't gotten me into that much trouble yet. The worst part about it was dealing with the hangover and listening to my friends make fun of me for my drunken antics. Otherwise, I loved getting drunk. I thought my tendency to go overboard was just a phase. When our 1-year lease ended, I moved back home, now with a bit more appreciation for how good I had it there. Then when I was 23, I moved out again and moved in with my bandmate. This time the plan was to make a serious attempt at getting somewhere with our music. But that came to an end after 5 short months, when I realized that my passion for making music had fizzled out. It was like reuniting with an old ex and realizing that the feelings were no longer there. I felt bad about telling my friend the news, because we were renting the main floor of his mom's house and she'd have to get new tenants. But overall, I felt like I was making the right decision. My plan moving forward was to go back to college and to study to become a personal trainer, because the only thing that I liked more than partying was working out. Alright friends, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe button below. And if you want more content, please check out my blog and Instagram. The links for those are in the description. Also, check out my next video where I'll talk about my mid to late 20s, which is when I became addicted to cocaine. But for now, thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you next time.